Alright, today we're going to be removing and installing a wide track for a Toro Dingo. It's the same process for a 525 wide track, 425 or a 427 wide track. This is not the same as a narrow track. It's a different procedure for a narrow track. First thing we're going to do is loosen the nut that holds this front tensioner wheel on. I'm not going to remove the nut yet. I'm just going to loosen it. And then we're going to come in, and on this tensioner bolt right here, on this side of it, there is going to be a slot that receives a 1/2 inch ratchet with no head on it. Go ahead and install it here. And what you're going to do to loosen this track, you're going to put the ratchet in the tightening position so it's opposite, and you're going to start cranking down on it to spin that tensioner bolt. And what you're going to find is you keep going until there's a tensioner nut in here that you can't see, and it's going to fall into this position right here. Once you get it over here, then your track is ready to come off, and this whole tensioner arm, the whole black thing right here, is going to shift back towards your big hamster wheel. Okay, so what we've done is collapse the tensioner arm all the way back towards the hamster wheel over here. What I've done is finished taking the nut off and washer, and taking this tensioner wheel off. Once you do that, you grab the track from here, take it off this way, and then just totally remove it from the machine. It's fairly easy. Before we install the track, what you want to do is look over things, make sure everything's in working order. Make sure all these 10 bogey wheels spin freely. There's another 5 on the other side that you can't see. I'd also spin your tensioner wheel and install this tensioner wheel back on, spin it too, make sure they spin freely and that the bearings aren't frozen in it. It's also a good idea to take this whole tensioner arm right here, remove it from the machine, just pull it back this way towards your attachment side, and dump it out. And what you're looking for is you want to get this spring that's in the tensioner wheel out and make sure it's not broken. If your spring is broken, go ahead and replace it. If everything looks good, go ahead and put your spring back in, your tension nut and bolt, which you can't really see right now, put that back in on the spring, slide your tension arm back in, and now we are ready to install the track. Okay, the wide track is back on. You start with pushing or getting the track on the hamster wheel side first, and then you push until the track wraps around the tensioner wheel, the one that you can't see. And then there is a washer that's going to be, you can't see it here, but it's going to be in between this tensioner wheel and the tensioner arm. Go ahead and grease the outside of the washer where it touches the tensioner arm. Go ahead and put the tensioner arm, slide it back onto the track system. Go ahead, there's a washer right here. Grease the inside of this washer, install the washer, install the nut, and tighten the nut down. Then we're going to tighten the tracks. This tightening is only for Toro tracks. If you have an aftermarket track, I would refer to them how much to tighten it. I've had some aftermarket tracks snap on me trying to get it the correct tightness, so this is only for Toro tracks. So what we're going to do is, again, with the ratchet, stick it in the receiver right here, and we're going to tighten down. So put the ratchet actually in the loosening position to tighten it. You're going to start cranking down on the ratchet. You're going to see the tensioner arm and tensioner bolt or tensioner nut actually go that way to tighten the tracks. And to know how tight you need to be, you need to measure from this edge, so this is black edge right here of the tensioner arm, to the edge of the tensioner nut, which I have an extra tensioner bolt and nut here. This thing is actually what's sitting in here, like this, okay? And what you're going to do is you want to measure from this edge of the tensioner nut to the black edge of the tensioner arm. That measurement should be 2 3/4. So what I do is I'll take a zip tie right here, stick the zip tie in until it actually hits that tensioner nut, mark it at the edge of the tensioner arm with my thumb, pull it out, pull the tape measure on it, should be 2 3/4. After it's 2 3/4, you just want to line one of these slots up. See these slots that are built into these tensioner heads or the tensioner bolts? Slot like this right here. And then there's a slot on the frame too that receives the bolt. Line those 2 holes up, slide your bolt and nut in it, lock it down, and you are finished.